How to fix Connecticut's economy. I got a few ideas, and the funny thing is a lot of the stuff I started talking about back in college, you see New York actually doing. Back when I was in college, we used to talk about black and brown sites. Basically what they are is they're abandoned factories that one time built, whatever you want them to build, and many of them are actually bomb-proof. The problem is that they're so contaminated that they won't even let a business move in there. You see, you have to spend billions of dollars cleaning it up, that it's not really profitable to move there. One thing I never understood is that it's okay for decades for the groundwater to be contaminated. The people who live there get sick, the wildlife gets destroyed, but you won't let a business move in there. What I would do is I would auction them off. Okay, auction them off, the highest bidder. What do you win? You win a tax-free zone. A tax-free zone, that means that you're not going to have to pay property tax because we weren't getting that anyway. No taxes on your machinery, no taxes on inventory, no utility taxes. Alright, we're also going to try to eliminate sales tax as much as possible. We're going to try to bring as much businesses as possible into these areas. Alright, we got to attract people from other states, maybe even other countries, whatever it is. But here's the thing, it's not going to be a 10-year program. It's going to be for life. As long as that property exists, the owner, whoever it is, even if it transfers ownership, is going to have a tax-free zone. Alright, the idea is we want to keep businesses in these communities, we want to keep things going. That's one of my ideas. Another idea I had was actually the elimination of the income tax. You look at the states that have an income tax, they aren't doing very well. The state of Connecticut established their income tax in the early 1990s as a way to try to balance the budget now that they got rid of the toll roads. They ran into debt, they rose it up a few times. So what I would do is I would actually eliminate it for 99% of people who live in Connecticut. If you make less than $5 million a year, you don't pay an income tax. The money is yours. Don't worry about it. Now, if you make over $5 million a year, I might impose a 13.3% income tax. And there's reasons behind that, but I'll get into them in another video. Alright, another thing I would do is I would get rid of the whole lottery winning income tax thing. If you win the lottery, okay, the money's yours. I'm not going to tax you. You already gave money to the state with the lottery. I'm not going to worry about it. And maybe this is a way to encourage more people to play, whatever. Okay, another thing I would do is I would change the sales tax. In the state of Connecticut, we have a 6.35% sales tax. Used to be 6%. Don't know why they would bother changing. It's not that big of a deal. I bring it back down to 6%. Now, one of the things about me is morally and ethically, I cannot tax certain things, like food and clothing. I don't care if it's a luxury item. I don't care if it's food in a restaurant. I don't want to tax that. You think about it. People go to a restaurant. They don't have to pay a sales tax. They might buy more food for more people. Or how about this? Leave a bigger tip for your waiter or waitress. They're probably not living on a lot of money. Now, another thing I would do is also get rid of taxes on luxury items. No, luxury clothing items is what I'm talking about. Why would I do that? Well, here's the thing. That clothing is still going to be worn by someone. And eventually it's not going to be a luxury item. It's probably going to be sold at Goodwill. So I'm not even going to bother taxing it. Now another thing I would do is I would change the automotive sales tax, which so happens to be about 8.35%. I'll bring that back down to 6%. One of the things about automobiles in the state of Connecticut and most states I never really understood was the whole registration thing. You have to constantly re-register your vehicle. The car hasn't changed. You haven't changed. Why should you have to re-register? I'm going to get rid of that to save people some money. Another thing I would do is I would change the laws when it comes to getting a driver's license. In the state of Connecticut, you have to be 18 years old. Alright, you have to go through a certain number of hours of driver training courses. You have to get a permit before you even do all this. And then even after you get your license now, you have to be regulated on what hours you could drive, who you could drive with, all this other silly business. What I would do is I'd make it, you turn 16 years old, take your test, get your license, that's it. I'm not going to put any more requirements on it. Now, there's certain advantages to doing certain things with your insurance company. That's another story. That's not for me to get involved with. The way I look at it is if more people could drive a car, more people could drive to work where the jobs are. That means less unemployment. It also means that more young kids with more cars, perhaps they might spend more money. The economy is zooping them up. That's just a hope. Now, another thing I want to talk about is the Native American Indian casinos. Okay. When they were established, Connecticut asked for bribes, and still to this day requires bribes from these casinos so they can remain in operation. Right now, people don't have money for food. They don't have money for gambling. Casinos are going out of business. What I would do is I would say, listen, it's supposed to be sovereign land. I'm not going to regulate you in that fashion anymore. I'm not going to ask for a bribe. If it's not good enough for me to allow my average people to run their casinos, then I shouldn't, take money from yours. So what I would do is I would basically make it so that if I have any requirements on them, it would basically be an agreement that, listen, maybe now if I stop taking money from you and you have more money to spend, you might be able to pay your employees more money, pay them a decent living wage. That's all I really ask for you to do. And I'll just leave it at that. Now, another thing I would do in the state of Connecticut is I would get rid of all these ridiculous gun laws. You see, Most people don't know this, but in the state of Connecticut, we were historic for firearms. You look at where the most firearms were built, most firearm innovations. Basically, if it had to deal with a gun, it was here in Connecticut. We did that. All right, and the problem is that our governor really doesn't care about losing jobs. He said it. I don't care about the gun factories moving out of state. Well, I do. All right, they built a lot of the communities. A lot of the people, who live quality lives today, a lot of cities that are built up nice are due to gun factories and manufacturers. So what I would do is I would try to repeal all these stupid gun laws. I'll put a bill up to the General Assembly, just like I do with the driver's license issue, and say, here, this is my plan. Vote it into law. And if they don't, well, that's okay. I have power of the pardon. If I see a gun offense, and I don't believe it's a real gun offense because I believe in the Second Amendment, I'm going to write it off. That person's pardoned. Don't even worry about it. Most people don't know how difficult and expensive it is to run a gun store in this state, particularly in this country as well. But anyway, another thing I would do is, just on a side note, I'd probably be one of the first governors to open carry. This way I don't have to hire security staff. That's just what I would do. So, once again, those are just some of my ideas for how I would try to fix Connecticut's economy. Take care.